and welcome to Divi Coaching. Today we're going to be building this transparent header in Divi 5. And the exciting thing about Divi 5 is it allows you to be more creative, more flexible, and you have to use CSS a lot less often. So the difference in this header from normal is that we've added a button onto the right-hand side here. It's obviously a transparent menu that sits on top of the page. And when you scroll it, not only does it change color and change size slightly, but the logo changes into a completely different logo. So it's not just changing color, we're changing from our Divi Fashion logo to our Divi Coaching logo. So quite a lot going on there. Quite an involved tutorial. It's going to be 20-25 minutes long, but hopefully you'll learn a lot about headers and a lot about Divi 5. So without further ado, let's get on with building our transparent ultimate Divi 5 header. So we have our website, and at the top we have our standard WordPress menu. What we need to do is to build a theme builder menu, and we're going to make that menu sit on top of this page. Now, those of you that work with Divi 4, and this is a Divi 4 site, would know that if you go into Enable the Visual Builder, you're then able to choose Edit Header Template at the top of the page, and this allows you to edit the header in position on the page so you can see how it all works. Now that feature will be coming to Divi 5, but it isn't currently there. So there's a little bit of a workaround for it, which I'm going to use because I really do like to see what I'm building rather than just building it in the theme builder without being able to see what's going on. So if when you're watching this video, this feature is available in Divi 5, then fantastic. If not, the workaround's really only a few steps and we'll run through those now. So the first thing we're going to do is, as usual, we're going to go to the dashboard and we're going to go to the theme builder. Once we're in the theme builder, we're going to click to add a global header and click on Build Global Header. Once the builder comes up, effectively what we're going to do is create a blank section. So we're going to go into the Design tab, into Spacing, and where the standard padding, I don't think it's very helpful that it doesn't show you what the standard padding is, but there is padding in there. And if you take it out, so we're going to go 0 for the top and 0 for the bottom, you can see that we now have basically a section that is 0 size. I'm not going to add anything else to it. I'm just going to click on Save and Exit. And when you get back to the theme builder page, you'll find that that global header is there and has been enabled. And when you click on Save Changes and Visit Site, you will find that you have basically your blank section at the top of this page. And that's what we need to be able to start to do what we want. So the first thing we're going to do is click on Edit with Divi, and then once we're in here, we're going to click to add a new section. That new section is going to be a single column flex section. We're not going to add any modules for a minute. We're just going to drag that section up to the top, and here is where we're going to build our header. Now, once this sits over the page, we don't want these gaps at the side. The color that we set, the transparency that we set for the row, we want to go right from one edge to the other. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the row settings, into sizing, and I'm going to override my default settings, which are normally 80% width with a maximum width of 1440, and I'm going to go to 100%. Note that you just type the unit here. You don't have to choose it from the list. It speeds things up if you just literally type a percentage and then enter. So we now have a row which is 100% of the width. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start adding some modules. Now, because I want to put a button on the end of this row, and because I want to have images that can change, so basically when the menu is in its sticky state, I want to show a different image to the normal state. This is something that I'm asked for a lot. So I'm going to have to build this in a very slightly different way to normal, which I'll explain as we go along. I'm going to add a new module, and that module I'm going to add is one of the new group modules. And once I've added that, I'm going to come across to the settings for that group module. Very easy to end up in the wrong place in Divi, so you really need to keep checking that before you make any modifications, that what you're modifying is up here. Because if I clicked up here, I'd be in the section. Here I'm in the group. If I wanted to click to change the row, I'd have to make sure I got to the row. If you're not confident clicking around in here, you can just go to the layers menu here. So I know I want group, so I'm going to click on group and I can make the changes that I want. Once I'm in the group, I'm going to click on Content and Elements. Now there are currently no elements in my group, and I'm going to add 3 elements. I'm going to add a menu. I'm then going to go back up to the group level, elements again. I'm going to add another element, and next I'm going to add an image. And then once I've added the image, I'm going to choose my logo. So I'm going to choose this whiteout logo here. You can't see it, but it is here. In fact, why don't we fix that? If we go into the row now and into background, let's give ourselves a little temporary background so we can see what's going on. Now, you'll notice that you don't get the background behind the menu, and that is because by default, the menu comes with a white background. So if we come into the menu settings and the background, and we just delete that, we can see that we now have what we want. Now, the logo's rather too big at the moment, so we'll go into design, making sure we're choosing the image. We'll come down to sizing, and we'll give it a maximum width of 150 pixels. Okay, now we've sorted that out, we're going to come back to our group, and we're going to add the final item. So back into content, elements. So we've got our menu, we've got our image, and the final thing we want to add is our button. Okay, so the layout is a bit odd at the moment, and the reason for that is if we go, well, we're in our group, if we go to design, we will see that our layout for the group is currently a column, and what we want is a row. So if we go to row, we can see that our items all line themselves up. They don't center themselves though, and that's because we haven't got the center align chosen for our group. So if we click on center align here, now everything is nicely lined up. They're not currently though in the order that we want them. We want the menu over here and the logo over here. So to fix that, we can go to content and we can just grab the image and we can drag it to be on top. So now we've got our logo, our menu, and our button. Now it's all stretched right to the side of the row at the moment, so we need to add some spacing. In order to do that, we're going to go into the row, we're going to go into design and spacing, and because I like my content to be 80% wide, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a 10% padding to the left and right. So that is looking exactly like I want it. Now we need to sort out some styles, so I'm going to click on the button here. Now, I'm not going to go through presets today. That'll be part of my longer tutorial, but I have a preset defined for that button, and I'm just going to choose that. So it's the same button as down here. So that is my button preset. The menu text I need to change the color of because it's going to sit on top of this background. So in order to do that, I'm going to go into menu text. I'm going to make it uppercase. I'm going to make it a slightly heavier weight, so I'm going to go with a semi-bold weight for it. I am going to add a 1 pixel letter spacing to it, and then from the menu text color here, I'm going to choose one of my colors that I've defined for the site. Now, when I create my full tutorial for how I start a site from scratch, which I'll be doing over the next few weeks, I will go through how to define the colors, the fonts, the sizes, and all of the new variables that are so exciting and really useful in Divi 5. So I've already defined some colors here. I'm going to choose white, and I've now got my menu in white. So I've got my logo, I've got my menu, and I've got my button. Next thing I need to do is to get it to sit on top of the content here. So that's what we're going to do now. So in order to do that, we need to go into the settings for the section. First thing we need to do is remove all of the top and bottom padding. Now we need to make sure we're choosing the right section here. So it's this one, the very first section. We're going to go into design and padding, and we're going to change the top to 0, and we're going to change the bottom also to 0. So there we are. Then we need to go into the Advanced tab. We need to come down to Position, and we need to check that it's relative. It's really important. That is the default, but it is really important that your section is set to default. Otherwise, when you set the row to absolute, which we're going to do in a minute, it won't work. So just double check that. Then we're going to come into the row, and we're going to set the row position to absolute. And there we are. It's now sat itself on top of our hero. So we've got a few little issues going on here. One, we forgot to get rid of our grey background. So I'm going to come into the row again. I'm going to come into content and background, get rid of my grey color because I don't need it anymore. I've then got to increase some spacing a bit here because my buttons, well, actually my button's looking a bit big. So let's just reduce the size of the button. So I'm going to come into the button, come into design. I'm going to come into text for the button, and the button text, we're just going to drag it down a bit, which will actually shrink the button down. So there we go. We can then save that. I'm then going to add some padding in. So I want the padding to go at the row level. So I'm going to come to the row, design, spacing, and the padding I want, top and bottom, is 15 pixels. I'm going to add 15 pixels top and bottom. I need my menu text to be white. So I'm coming in here, menu text. I'm going to pick a color and I'm going to choose white. So now that we've got everything looking like we want, we need to make this stick to the top. So in order to do that, we need to go into the section settings. Now, it's really easy to go into the wrong section setting here. So we need to go to layers and we need to be absolutely sure that we're in the first section, because both sections are sitting in the same place, and more than a few times when I've been trying to put this tutorial together, I've chosen the wrong one. So we need to make absolutely sure we're at the first top section. We then need to go into the Advanced tab, and we need to, from Scroll Effects, we need to choose Stick to Top and save. And we'll now find that our menu sticks to the top of the screen. Now we can start working on getting it to change color when we scroll. And in order to do that, you'll find that when you click on this little selector up here, as well as the desktop, tablet, phone, hover, now, because we have a sticky position for the menu, there is a sticky option. So if we go onto that sticky option and we go into the row settings, because it's the row that we want to change the color of, make sure that we're still on sticky here. We go to background, and what we want is a white color. You won't see it yet, but we need a white color when it's sticky. So now when I scroll, you'll see it will change to white, which is fantastic. So we also need our menu to do the same thing. So we go into our menu settings, again, checking we're still on sticky, and into design, and we go menu text, and we come down to menu text color. And again, we've got sticky up here. So when we now choose a darker menu text color and save, when we scroll, that will change. And finally, I need to get my logo to change on scroll, and that's just a little bit more complicated, but let's run through it. So we're going to go back into our group settings, and we are going to add another element. So we have an image, a menu, a button. We're actually going to duplicate the image element, which puts another image in the middle. And we're going to edit that second image item, and we're going to change it to a different logo. So just to make the point, I'm going to put my Divi Coaching logo in here. So here we are. So we have Divi Fashion and we have Divi Coaching. Now, we need to move that. So in order to move it, I'm going to go into the module settings. So I'm going to come to the Advanced column here. I'm going to come down to Position, and I'm going to choose Absolute. And then I'm going to make sure that I've got Center chosen here so that my logo centers itself. So I have my logo centered. It looks a bit odd, but you can see that G comes right down to the bottom. So it is centered. It's slightly smaller than the other logo. So that's perfect. So I now have my two logos, and now I need to control that you see the right logo at the right time. So in order to do that, which is actually pretty straightforward, so we're going to choose our first image, which is our white logo, and we're going to go into Design, and we're going to go into Filters. And what we're going to do here is, so this is the white logo. So in the non-sticky position, so that's now, we want the opacity to be 100%. This is what we're going to do. If you slide the opacity down, it will disappear. So in the non-sticky position, we want it to be 100%. We can then go to the sticky position, and we can slide that all the way down to 0. So we want it to disappear on sticky. We're then going to save that. We're going to come back, and we're going to choose the other image. So make sure we have so this is the color logo that we've selected now, and we want the opposite here. So we want to go into Design. we want to go into filters, and the desktop position for this one, we want to be an opacity of 0. And then when you go to the sticky position, we want an opacity of 100%. So we need to save that. Yeah, essentially we're manipulating the opacity. So one logo has an opacity of 100 in the sticky position, and one logo has an opacity of 100 in the normal position. So if we now save that and exit, we will find that when we scroll, the logo changes and the menu text also changes. So looking good. The only thing that we don't have at the moment is much of a transition going on. So the logo just flashes from one to the other. And this is where the little bit of CSS comes in. If you do want this to transition a little bit more smoothly, you can do that with a tiny bit of CSS. It does look nicer, so I'm going to add that in. It's really pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is go into the row, go to the Advanced tab. I'm going to come into Custom CSS. I want this first item, which is Freeform CSS. I'm going to post this in here. So my selector is a star, which is everything. And I'm going to say all the transitions need to be in 0.04 seconds, and they're ease in, ease out. So very little bit of CSS, basically. Then when we exit, we'll find that when we scroll, the logo very nicely changes from one to the other. Final thing I'd like to do is put a little bit of a demarcation between the header and the rest of the page. So I'm going to come into my row, design, I'm going to come down to box shadow, and I'm going to put a very small box shadow on the bottom. It doesn't look very small at the moment, but it will when we reduce the strength of it. I'll just do this by eye really. And then the colour we want to be, so just a little tiny demarcation line between the two. And then we'll exit from that. And then we can see that we've got everything that we want going on. Now I can almost hear you shouting at the screen, what about responsive options? Too many people, I have to say myself included, and also a lot of other tutorials just ignore responsive options until the end. And then when you go in to have a look at your website on a tablet or a mobile, you end up with something that doesn't look right. And I can pretty much predict that that's what's going to happen when we do this now, but luckily it's not too difficult to fix. So I use a plugin, not a sponsor of my videos. I did pay for this plugin. I am an affiliate though, so if you do order this from the link in my site, it will help subsidize my channel a tiny amount. But the reason I use it, and I bought it with my own money, is it's a brilliant plugin. So it gives you an inspector, so you can go in and inspect all the different settings and various things on your site. But more importantly, and what I want to use it for now, is it gives you an amazing responsive view. So I can now have a look at the site, and I've set up two items here. I've got an iPhone 14 Pro and I've got an iPad. Just because they're typical devices, you can actually go in and you can add all sorts of different devices. So you can come into add device here, and there's a whole list of different devices to add, and you can also define your own devices. So this gives us a view of the pages, both in a mobile and a tablet version, and you can see that things don't look quite right up here. And if we click on the menu, we can see things look even worse. So there's various things going on here. The main one is that this background to the menu is very small, and we'll go and investigate why that is. And also, obviously, we've got a white background and white text. So none of it's really looking like we want it to. It improves slightly when we start to scroll, but basically we need to sort all of this out. So let's go back to our site. Let's come into the builder. And the first thing we're going to do is sort out this menu width. So you remember in the drop down, it was very narrow. So the reason for that, if we come into the menu settings, into design, and we scroll all the way down to sizing, we will see that currently it is set as shrink to fit. So if you hover over the menu, you can see the menu takes up the smallest amount of space. We don't want that setting. We want grow to fill. And if we click on grow to fill, it boots the text over to the wrong side of the screen, but we can fix that in a minute. But what it's actually done is increased. So just to go back, what we had was we had a left justified menu in a shrink to fit size box. When we go to here, we have a left justified menu in a grow to fill box. Now, in order to change the justification, we come down to menu text, and we scroll down to make sure that we have right justified. So now we have it right justified and we have it full width. And if we save that, exit the Visual Builder and come back to our responsive view in Hoverify, we'll find that now when we click on the menu, it's the right width. So that's perfect. At least it is on the tablet. On the mobile view, you can see things are still not great because there's not a lot of space there. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to, on the phone view, I'm going to widen the overall width of my row. I'm going to get rid of the button. I think it's too much and we don't need it on this view. And that should then help us to sort out what this menu looks like. So once again, we're going into Edit with Divi, into Design. We're going to choose the row. First thing I'm going to do is make the row wider in mobile view. So to do that, I'm going to choose the phone view here. And instead of, so in the Design tab, in spacing, do you remember I added in 10% padding left and right to give me my width? Well, on the phone view, I'm going to change that to just 5%. So that will make everything a bit wider and will give us a little bit more space. So 5% left and right there. Then I'm going to get rid of the button. To do that, I'm going to click on the button. I'm going to go to Advanced and Visibility. To change this, I need to go back to Desktop. So Disable on phone is what I want to do. So that will hide the button on phone. And I'm going to save. Okay, and let's come out again. See what this now looks like. So we'll come back in again to our responsive view. Okay, so you can see the button has gone. The logo is now closer to the edge. And when we click on the menu, there is now enough space for our menu text. Of course, we can't actually read our menu text because it's currently white. So we can soon fix that. Final fix, I hope. So we're going to come out again, back into the builder, back into design. We're going to choose our menu settings. We're going to go to tablet view and we are going to go to menu text. And then if we come down here to color, one setting that we haven't looked at yet is you do actually have the option to edit the responsive values for all these things. So menu text color, click on here to edit responsive values. We know that we want it to be white on the desktop view. We know that as soon as we change to a tablet view, we need this to be black. So we're going to come in here and we're going to choose our heading text color to be darker. And that will then obviously come through to the other sizes. So if we then save that again, exit again, back to our responsive view, and we've now hopefully got something that we want to see. So we've now got a menu with some legible menu items. And then to check what happens on scroll, one more change we've got to make. On scroll, we're not changing the color of our drop-down hamburger. So our hamburger is staying white. So we need to just fix that. Honestly, this really is the final fix. You can see how tricky it is and why so many people leave it out or leave it till the end. So we're going to edit with Divi, back into our menu design, back into our icons, and then we're going to come down to our hamburger menu icon color. We're going to click here for the responsive. And what we actually want is in the sticky position, we want the hamburger menu to be dark. We're going to save. We're going to go back into responsive view again. And now we will find that when we scroll up, we have our hamburger menu and it's black and it's legible in the sticky state. Fantastic. Right. So that's completed building everything. The final step is we now need to export this so that this will actually be a header rather than just a section sitting at the top of our page. And that's very easy. So back into the builder again, and we need to make sure that we're choosing our header section. So here it is. And then once we're in it, we're going to say save to library. So this little 3-dot menu here, so the section, 3-dot menu, save to library. We're going to call this header and we're going to save to library. Once we've done that, we can safely delete the section and save our page. Then if we come out of the builder, come into the dashboard, into the theme builder, and we can now edit our global header. and we want to click on the blue here to add a new section, and we want to add that section from the library. And here it is, the header we just saved. Use this section, so that adds our header in from the library, and we can then delete the blank empty section that we had at the top. And it's as easy as that. Now if we save and we exit, make sure we've saved all our changes, we come out. There is a little bit of an issue with the version of Divi that I'm using at the moment. You may find that everything looks distorted and you end up with text and all sorts of things in funny places. If that happens, you just need to go back into the dashboard, back into Divi, back into the theme builder, and you simply just need to go into the global header again and just resave it. And then when you come out and come back, you'll find that everything works properly. Now, you probably won't see that because by the time you get to try this tutorial, unless you're really keen and try it in the next day or two, it will have been fixed. So this is the final result. Everything works. Everything works in a responsive manner as well. No matter which device you've got a menu and you've got a button on your tablet, but not on your mobile view. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial and you found it useful. If you have, please do give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. And do look out for all of the new Divi 5 tutorials that I'll be making in the coming months. Many thanks, and I'll see you next time.